Hello everyone, welcome to the video. This is tutorial 4 on how to make a traffic light with the Arduino, and in this tutorial we're going to be adding two buttons where we can use them to change the time on how long the colors will remain on, and we will be able to do this with using the 4-digit 7-segment display that we have added in our last tutorial. So I'm going to be showing you how to connect these buttons up to the Arduino and show you the code. So without further ado guys, let's get started. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put together the circuit, and so here we have the two buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and put one button onto the breadboard. There we go. Let's put the next button on the breadboard. There we go. And so now here are the two buttons. They're connected now. So now we'll go ahead and connect the ground to one of the pins on each one of these buttons. So there's one ground. There's the next ground right there. So there we go, the grounds are now connected. So now I'll go ahead and connect pin A0 on the Arduino, and we'll go ahead and connect that to one side of button 1. And then we'll go ahead and connect button 2 to pin A1 onto the Arduino. And so basically that is the circuit right there. Alright, so here's the code, and I'm only going to be explaining the parts of the code that I have added to work with all two toggle switches. And so basically, we have just added button 1 and button 2 right here, which is connected to an A0 and A1. Then we come down here and we have button 1 new and button 2 new, and they're both set to 1. And so on for button 1 old and button 2 old. They are set to 1 as well. Basically what these pins are going to do is the button new variables are going to be holding the newest value that our button is currently at. So it could be 1 whenever we're not pressing the button, it's going to be 0 when we are pressing the button. And so basically, by seeing the previous value and the new value of our two buttons, we will be able to see that we have just done something with the button, either pressed it or let go of it. In this case, we are going to do an action whenever we let go of the button. And so that's what these variables are for. And we also have TF1 and TF2. TF just stands for true and false, and they're just set to false by default, and you will see why we have these set up later on in our code. Then we also have DT. This is just stand for delay time. It's a constant because we're not changing it, and it's just 5 milliseconds basically. So basically this is just how long we need to wait for when we press or let go of a button to see if that's the actual true time on when we let go or press the button. Because of that debounce issue, whenever you press or let go of the button, there's a debounce problem, and so we usually have to wait for some amount of time for that debounce issue to pass. And so 50 milliseconds is plenty of time to have that pass, so our code doesn't have any issues with this problem. Then we go into the void setup, and we come right down here and set up the pins, which is button 1 and button 2. They're both going to be an input, so that means we're reading information from the buttons. Pull up. This is going to activate the pull-up resistor that is connected to the pins. And so now you may be wondering, can we do this with analog pins? Yes, we can. Analog pins can become digital pins quite easily. They just have the ability to be analog pins. Unlike the digital pins, they can't be analog pins, they can only be digital pins. But analog pins can be digital and analog as well. And so we just do the pull-up right here, so we don't have to add the pull-up resistors in our circuit. So then we go ahead and come to the void loop, and we're just going to pass a good bit of this because we have already explained this in our past videos. So now here is the code right here that has to do with the two toggle switch. So first I would say, if you want to learn more about the toggle switch and understand really good details about how it works, I have a link down below to a video of me explaining that. And so the first thing we do is we go ahead and do a digital read with button 1. And this will give us a 0 or 1 depending on if we're pressing it or not, and we'll go ahead and put that value into button 1 new because that's the newest value from the button. And we do the exact same thing from button 2 right here. We just read it, and then we go ahead and put into button 2 new. So then we have this if statement right here, which is if button 1 new equals 1 and button 1 old equals 0, then come to this statement. So since button 1 old is holding the previous value of what the button was at, we're going to come to this statement right when we let go of the button. Because when we're not pressing the button 1 is going to be equal to 1. But previously we were pressing the button because we just let go of it, it would be a 0. So in this case, this will be true whenever we just let go of the button. And we'll come to this statement and set last millis 2. We have now a millis, and I haven't explained this one as well. It's up here. I think I actually had it in our last code, so I put it in here on accidentally. But here it is right here. We have last millis 2. This is just so that we also have last millis as well. They both do the same thing, but they're both for different things and track in different times, and we don't want to intermix with both of them. So we have two variables that meant to do the same thing, but for different things. This one is for the traffic light timer, and this one is for the buttons. So then we come back down here, and we go ahead and make last millis 2 equal to millis. That's what we do in the if statement, and we set tf1 equal to true. So this tells us that we have come into this if statement, and now we can come into this if statement whenever the 50 milliseconds pass for that debalance problem to disappear. So that's what we do. We get out of this if statement, and we wait until we can come to this if statement, which is for button 1. So essentially, what we're going to say if button 1 new equals 1, which means we're no longer pressing it. That's good. That we want that. If we're not pressing the button, that means we are still not pressing it. That means we have let go of it and we're still not pressing it after 50 milliseconds after this time. And millis minus last millis 2 is greater than dt. So basically this right here is going to give us how much time we have been out of this if statement. And if that's greater than 50 milliseconds, then we can come into this statement, because the debalance issue has most likely probably disappeared and we're still not pressing the button. So that means that was legit of us actually letting go of the button. So that tells us that that was actually a legit signal of us actually let going of the button. And then we have another tf1 equals true. So if we actually came into this statement and we have been out of this statement for 50 milliseconds and we are still pressing the button, and we're still not pressing the button, then come into this statement. So we have to check all these things to make sure that we are actually allowed to come to this if statement and do the functionality. In the future tutorials, we're going to add functionality, but right now we are just doing button 1 is pressed. And that's all we do right here. And then we do the exact same thing for button 2. As you can see right here, we skipped this one, but it's exactly the same thing. All we do is just change the variables for button 2 new and button 2 old, and we make it all the same basically. And then we also have tf2 as well. The same thing, and we do the exact same thing down here as well. But these buttons will both have different functionalities, so these if statements in here, the functionality that are into both of these if statements will be a tad bit different in the next tutorials to come. But basically, essentially right now, we're just trying to set up these toggle switches so that we can use them in the future. And then we have button 1 old equals button 1 new. So basically now the information that is in button 1 new is getting old because we're about to refresh it. So we want to go ahead and put the new value into the old value so that we can go here and refresh button 1 new. And the same with button 2 as well. And then we just continue looping this code over and over again, and that is how the toggle switch works. And so now we can go ahead and see our project action. Okay, so now here's the circuit, and as you can see, we have the time counting down until the red LED will turn on, and we have these two buttons. Basically, if we press one of these buttons, it will say that button 1 or button 2 have been pressed depending on which button we press. So we can go ahead and press button 1 and we can release, and it says that button 1 has been pressed. And then we can go ahead and press button 2, and so then on the serial monitor it says that the button 2 has been pressed. In the next tutorial, we're going to make it so these two buttons have functionality to be able to change how much time it needs to take until the lights on the traffic light change. So we can do that. We can be able to adjust that time with these two buttons using this display. So we're going to do that in the next tutorial, guys. If you like this video, guys, consider giving this video a like. Also comment down below if you have any questions, and consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.